Hi, my name's Shane. I use she and her pronouns, and this is the 11th and penultimate session of a game of Fate of the Faerie Queen, a reskin of Fate of Cthulhu from Evil Hat Games. The series was organized through the Gauntlet gaming calendar, and if you're not familiar, the Gauntlet is an online community that plays and organizes and talks about a whole lot of role-playing games, including indie games, story games, OSR games. I played my first OSR game last weekend, so I finally feel qualified to give that introduction. And yeah, if you want to find out more about the Gauntlet or come play with us, check out gauntlet-rpg.com or at gauntletrpg on Twitter. Going to ask the players to introduce both yourselves and your characters. So just like always, your names and pronouns and anything else you want to tell us about yourself. And you should have all taken an advance, your last advance for the game. So tell us as well what that is, or if you're still thinking about it. Matt, can I get you to go first this week?
Yes. My name is Matt. I use any pronouns. I'm playing Shanad, who went on an epic journey, and yeah, I think he's definitely uses he and pronouns. He's definitely feeling a little back to another version of himself that he had been trying to forget, or hoping that he could forget, because strange times are ahead. I don't know exactly what advance I'm taking yet. So I'm going to see if I can find a cool stunt in the next several minutes.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. Kyle?
Hi, I'm Kyle. I'm playing Maeve, she, her. She is a changeling infiltrator. For the advance, I took a refresh point, and I think I bumped my shoot up to 4 and finally took a point of resources. So someone on the team has it.
Lovely. Thank you. Lol.
My name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and I'm running Fadim Bekara, who is she, her. I think I'm going to take let's see. I'm definitely going to raise my rapport up by 1 to a 2, but I don't know which of my zeros I'm going to take up to a 1. I almost think I think I better take lore. I think that fits with the time that we've spent in the ferry. So and I'm going to hold on to. I'm not going to take a new stunt. I just like fate points.
Nice.
So I'm going to hang on to those.
Yeah. And Jose.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jose. I use he and him pronouns. I'm playing Dr. C, who also uses he and him pronouns. Dr. C had a year in Fairy, like everybody in the group. And I think the way it impacted him in a few different ways. I think one is he's become a little bit more mischievous and puckish, and he's also become even more empathic. So I punched his empathy up to 5. So I've got a 5, yeah, just learning to deal with fairy creatures, I think, bumped that up a little bit more. And I also took a stunt instead of a refresh point. Just basically says that he looks like a pushover, I know, but his mind is very strong, and so mental attacks against him are he's gonna get a +2 to the will defense against mental attacks. So I thought that was in keeping with his character and the wartime hardening on the inside, anyways.
That's awesome. Thank you. So while we were doing that, I've just noticed that it seems that one of the little feet has fallen off my laptop. So every time I hit my cursor, you get this little bounce of the camera. So I apologize for that. I hope it's not too annoying. I've propped it up as best I can with some index cards. I guess we'll see how that goes. So we'll just do my usual reminders for everyone. I'm sure you're across this stuff by now, but just in case, we do have a set of safety tools on the table if you want to use any of them. You should clear any stress from your character sheet from the previous scene, previous session, and you should also refresh your fate points if you haven't already. Since we're opening our last event today, I want to give a sort of broad recap of everything that you've achieved so far in the game. So you stopped the Fae-aligned Russian mob boss, Alexander Kochet, from building his gingerbread church, and you dropped at least one of his bodies into an icy lake, although you do know he had spares, so, I mean, at least a partial success. You defeated Rumpelstiltskin before she could bring her dancing plague to the world. An unequivocal success there. You interrupted the Fae who were somehow poisoning the food of the whatever they were doing, to the food of the celebrities at the Met Gala, and you stole an ancient manuscript that includes theories about how the Queen could be defeated. And then last session, you overthrew the Faerie Queen and replaced her with a more benevolent and humane ruler, seemingly averting the apocalypse that you spent the whole campaign trying to prevent. And we finished the last session in Faerie. Was planning to pick up today after you've returned to the mortal plane, but I just wanted to check first, are there any scenes that any of you wanted to play out in Faerie before we get back to the mortal world and the start of the next event?
Not for me.
As long as we have the Goblin King's blessing, I think I'm satisfied.
All right. Dr. C?
Nothing's jumping out at me. I'll probably think of something as soon as we leave Faerie, but that's Dr. C for you.
All right. So as people mentioned, you spent several years in Faerie, but as you had been told, time passed differently there. And so when you arrived back in our world, the mortal plane, just a few months had passed. And I think that was probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So you've had a little time to get reestablished here, get prepared. Enough time has passed that the heat has died down a little bit in terms of Maeve and Dr. C being wanted by the FBI. You're still going to have to keep, something of a low profile. So I guess I'm just going to go around and ask you a little bit about where your characters are at. So starting with a question for Bear. Well, first of all, do you think that you should rewrite your trouble? I just wonder, because your trouble has been that you're in love with Thorn, a fairy enforcer. And we talked about that still being true, but I don't know that it's still necessarily a trouble for you. Or do you think that it is?
I was just thinking the same. I think it's still like an interesting, maybe a bit of trouble that could come up for the characters, but I don't know if it's something that will be invoked as an aspect too often. I would like to rewrite it as something like well-known family name amongst the Fae.
Oh yeah, that's great.
So not many of them would know me personally from the future as the Fairy Borderland captain. Maybe some of them who have some of the whisperings of the future might have an idea, but I think also I have a family legacy going way back of people knowing how to deal with fairies and being problems for them.
I love that. That's cool.
Yeah, should have done it sooner.
And so my second question is, we're nearing the time that is the day that the Queen rose in your timeline. But you also know that because of your actions, she's no longer the Queen of Fairy. She can no longer sort of wield an army. So does Bear think that, that you've already won, or are you still worried about what might come?
I think Bear knows never to underestimate a fairy trick or their capacity for duplicity. He definitely thinks that I think Bear is under the impression that there may not be the same level of catastrophic world-ending scenario in the same way that we had before, but with his experience on the front lines and the tenacity of the Fae and everything, I think he thinks we might still have a long and drawn-out, horrible doomsday scenario ahead of us. So I think he's not letting his guard down.
Fair enough. Thank you. Maeve, I guess same question for you, really. You've been so focused this whole time on the mission. And does Maeve think that the mission is over now, or where are you at?
Not even close.
Okay.
I mean, she convinced herself it was a suicide mission a while back, and it'll take more than this to convince her it's otherwise.
Yeah. Fadim, I mean, same question for you, I guess.
I think Fadim thinks that whatever comes next is going to be the last gasp of the Faerie Queen. We have averted our future. We have, and the Faerie Queen may kick back, and there may be some badness, but it's not going to be what happened before. I am just waiting for the time that I can get a hold of her or someone in senior position and push them off the cliff with me, as it were.
Nice. And I mean, that it connects back as well to the fact that you're dying, which, you know, you haven't told your teammates. Your symptoms presumably have been getting worse since you got back here. Have you sought medical attention, or how are you managing that?
I think that there's a certain amount of, rather than like me going out and like not going to get real medical attention, but essentially having to go to like herbalists and down to Chinatown and buying things and all the natural sort of remedies and things to keep the edge off of this, because that's the only thing that will work. Is things that branch sort of do whole body rather than science. Straight science isn't going to cut it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that that's probably working to an extent, but still, you know, sometimes very late at night, you feel the tumors moving around inside your body. Dr. C has left. Timing not great because I was about to ask him a question. Well, I guess then I'll go back around because I'm also interested in like what you're actually, whether you're doing something to prepare, like what sort of life you're settled back into. Here we go. Dr. C. So you can just think about that for a sec. So I'll come back around and ask you what you're doing to prepare for whatever may come from the Queen. But Dr. C, I mean, in some ways, this has to have been the hardest of all for you because you had an actual life here, right? Like not that long ago, you had this cramped but still quite nice New York City apartment. You had this very respectable and reasonably well-paying job, rewarding work. Now the job is gone, the apartment is gone, you're a wanted fugitive, probably your bank accounts are frozen. I don't know if you have family that you can no longer contact or, you know, any of those things, but what does your life look like at this point? And how are you feeling about the possible rise or non-rise of the Queen?
Well, I think the shock of the loss of his life happened earlier, before the trip to Faerie, and obviously it's probably re-triggered as we return from our sojourn in Faerie. I think he's probably reaching out to what was her name? It was a French name. The family member, the descendant.
Her name was Celeste, I think.
Celeste, yeah, Celeste and Bug, and just touching base with them, trying to kind of create a new family or a new sense of connection. And maybe he's also connected with the strange ex-patients that are inhabiting the dark web and talking about fairy conspiracies and have made him their mascot. And so maybe that's how he's getting set up, with a little bit of resources. He does have one point in resources.
He has like a Patreon for his
yeah, exactly. He's got a GoFundMe that keeps him from starving to death. So yeah, people still believe in him, and of course they're still going on with their conspiracies about the Queen going. I think Dr. C is pretty enmeshed in the rivalry now with the Queen. Uh, and I don't think, her parting words when we took over the throne room are still kind of reverberating in his head, and he's just wondering how she's going to try to make trouble in the future. And he knows he hasn't seen the last of her. So he's definitely still got his antenna up, and he's trying to figure out what's going on now in the mortal world that she might be a part of. And yeah, so I think that's mainly what he's up to.
Okay. So, I mean, one thing that'll feed back to you through the network of contacts that you've established and supporters is that there's a notable change in the sort of tenor and substance of, the quote unquote delusions that these people have. So before, they, had a lot of signs and portents and dreams and visions to do with this evil queen. But recently, the nature of these dreams and visions have changed, and now they see a former queen toppled from power, who is traveling the planes of existence, seeking allies and support. One of them reports visions that this queen arrived in hell and asked the devil to help her conquer the earth, and the devil turned her down. And another reports that she went to see Nyarlathotep and asked that Azathoth help her destroy the world, and he turned her down. But there's this narrative emerging of a queen traveling around looking for someone powerful enough and allies powerful enough to let her fulfill her vision. Bear, is there anything that you're doing by way of preparation over the weeks before the sort of foretold time?
If there are weeks, I may fly to my homelands. And I may go walking through the woods and listening to what the critters have to say, and maybe trying to get in touch with some of the people who would eventually become members of my band,
Right.
and kind of the people who still believe in the old tales, and people who have talents that I don't have. So I'm kind of reassuming the role of the captain, I think, and maybe trying to bring out a few friends to wherever we're headed next.
Is that like family members, or is it other kinds of contacts that you had?
It's definitely some family members. I think I have an auntie who has a lot of weaponry in her home that is especially potent. And I think maybe there's a priest and some of my tavern drinking buddies. So it's a small group. And then I go speak to my grandmother once as well to hear her and ask her if she has any stories about queens, fairy queens.
Oh, well, do you want to roll to create an advantage using contacts? And we'll say that the advantage that you can create is, backup or something like that, people that might be able to help.
Yeah.
I buy that, you're quite persuasive about this sort of stuff. So maybe a difficulty of 2.
Cool. I was thinking independent of the difficulty, if you want to affect it too. I was thinking I could bump the contacts because I was still thinking of where to put my advantages. I think I'm going to take my fight up to 4 and my contacts 2.
Cool.
So let's see about that. Let me roll. And that's a 1.
All right. So it's a loss by 1. So you're welcome to just call that like some fictional positioning. You have some backup. These people are willing to help you, but it's not a mechanical advantage or an aspect. Or you can, spend a fate point and make that an aspect that you can with a free invoke on it.
I think I want the aspect with the free invoke. So there's a few that I could invoke here, but just because I just rewrote my trouble, I don't know if it can be invoked by me. But
Sure, I can. Yeah.
I think we get into a late night tale telling session and we start to turn back to the past. And maybe I start with this new story that I've learned about the ancient Dr. C, the ancient Alonso Cifuentes, who fought the queen a millennia ago. And then I think we get to stories of all of our remembered ancestors and the wicked fae that they fought against. And I think the gravity sort of sinks in with everybody. And that kind of forms like a dream-like kinship that we then wake up the next morning and know what we have to do.
Nice. All right, so spend a fate point and that will get you a free invoke on the aspect. I'm just going to call it Bear has backup. And there is a tab in the Keeper called Rise of the Faerie Queen for aspects and zones and stuff like that. Thank you. Maeve.
Just as a character question, I was wondering, would anyone have come with me to visit the village?
Nice. Are you meeting Bear's parents? Is that what we're saying?
Well, Dr. Z doesn't have any place to go home, so I'm sure he'd want to go with Bear. And I don't know if Bear would want him to go with him, because I don't know if Bear and Dr. C have been. I don't know how far the parting of the ways has gone, and what it's like for Bear now that he's back in the mortal world. But I can imagine Dr. C saying, "Bear, I want to come with you to meet your family."
I think we can arrange that. Yeah, I think it's like a little bashful reconnection, like a little slow, tentative, little bit of hand holding on the plane kind of thing. Or maybe a little bit of hand holding once they finally arrive and are eating someone's delicious stew. And yeah, I think we probably get you really drunk. Everyone calls you Dr. C the whole time. So when I tell the story of Alonso Cifuentes, they don't actually know that it's you. Yeah. But yeah, I think that sounds great.
That's awesome. All right, Maeve, what do you do anything by way of preparing for the Queen?
Yes, I think there's just I mean, I've got that aspect to always have a go bag, and I think I'm just prepping go bags everywhere, like put ammo caches, first aid supplies, just anything we could possibly need stashed in multiple locations everywhere nearby.
Cool. So, I mean, definitely for free, that can just be some fictional positioning. But if you want to roll to create an advantage using resources, you're welcome to do that as well.
Yeah, I'll give that a shot.
Yeah.
Oh, are we?
So
sorry, are we using roll for your party or the old link?
The same link from the start of the campaign. I checked this morning and it seemed not to be working, but then when I cleared the history of like 11 sessions worth of rolls, then it started working okay. So I think I had just overloaded it a little. So the link's in the safety tab if you need it again.
You got a 0.
All right, so 2 to tie. Well, an aspect will bring you to a 2, which will be a tie. That'll get you a boost. What do you want to do?
I'll save my aspects. Right. I have a feeling I'll need them.
Cool, thank you. Fadim, what are you doing?
I actually want to make a shift in what I was thinking in terms of what I'm taking for instead of taking lore, I'm going to take 1 in resources, and then I want to take a stunt. And essentially, this stunt represents the fact that I spent a year questing around, fighting all of these people, and getting rewards. And essentially, what I do when I come back is I would like that stunt to give me a +2 to my resources, essentially to take that cold hard cash and gold and stuff and put it in some kind of account that goes to my present self, like 4 months down the line, like some kind of setup investment thing that, I mean, that, and I'm going to spend, I want that just as a stunt, essentially a stunt that says, if the Faerie Queen doesn't kill my present self, they will have some money.
I don't think you need to spend a stunt for that. I think you can just.
I want to, though.
Okay.
I feel like that's a significant investment that, like, I will be spending my time. I'm not going to see my present self. I'm not going to see my present self family, but if they have a chance, I want them to be able to do better.
Okay. Cool. Well, you're certainly welcome to do that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you're spending your time on apart from setting up this account?
I think it's I know it is all coming, but I think I am taking the few times, a few days, a few weeks that I have that I can actually live and go to a movie and watch television and fix myself a meal and go to a park and go to a zoo and things like that. Like I'm doing all the stuff that I didn't have a chance to do because I was a dumb kid, and then I was a dumber kid in the fairy.
Nice. Dr. C, apart from a lovely trip to meet Bear's family, is there anything that you do by way of preparation?
I think I see Dr. C well, maybe during the trip also, maybe falling asleep with big lore books on Bear's shoulder, and but studying lore, but particularly the whole process of inciting the rebellion in Faerie, I think got Dr. C more politically minded. And so when he heard the stories coming in that the Queen was looking for new alliances, I think he's hitting the lore books to try to find out what are the traditional alliances of the Faerie Queen and who might she turn to and who might actually help her. You know, the tithes to hell, the different kinds of possible political arrangements that are between the different realms. And maybe I'm also tapping into the network a little bit on that too. So talking to old patients and some of the folks on the web about that.
All right. So I reckon roll to overcome using lore to see what you can figure out. And I think that like there's a difficulty 2 to get just some basic info, or there's a difficulty 4 to get a clearer answer.
Okay. Here somewhere. All right. It's lore, right? So, okay, that's that.
Oh, nice.
All right.
So, I mean, in terms of her traditional alliances, you really come up empty. There's no cosmic power that seems willing to align with the deposed Queen of Faerie. Like, that would be ridiculous. But you find something out. There is someone relatively powerful that she can reach out to for help. And that is the Russian mob boss, Alexander Kochet, who is a powerful sorcerer who has lived for thousands of years. And you certainly establish, like what you figure out is that he lived through the first rise of the Faerie Queen over 1,000 years ago. He fell in love with her then. When she was vanquished from the world, he fell into such a deep depression that he lay on the bottom of the sea for hundreds of years. And he is completely devoted to her. And maybe no one takes her seriously anymore in a cosmic sense. No one thinks of her as a threat or worth allying with. But he loves her, and he will put all his resources into the defense of the Queen. You also, in connection with that, find out that he's been arrested. He's being held. Quite a surprise to everyone that he let himself be exposed in that way. You know, he's always been quite cunning, often a suspect, but never indicted or arrested. And he's currently being held in a New York prison.
Okay.
I mean, you also know that he has multiple bodies, so what it means for him to have been arrested is less clear.
That's just one of him, right?
But at least one of him is in a New York prison right now.
All right, that's good to know.
And so I think that you all will probably come back together to talk about what you found out, what you think might happen, you know, what you fear or what your plans might be. Maeve, you are surprised during this meeting that you see some sort of news article, maybe the news is playing in the background. Your mother has been arrested for your murder, and it's big news. Obviously not you, but the younger version of yourself native to this timeline has been killed, and your mother has been arrested. Quite a high profile case, you know, footage on the news, things like that. What do you do?
Well, first I want to make sure that my younger self is actually dead.
How are you going to do that?
Try and break into the morgue, I guess. I want to see the body.
All right. Is anyone going with you to break into the morgue?
I shouldn't.
I feel I kind of fucked up the whole thing with you and your younger self before and pushed on that. So I will go with you if you want me to.
Sure, sounds good.
All right. Bear and Dr. C, is there anything that you're going to be doing while these two go off to try and break into the morgue?
We could go visit Cochet in prison.
Yeah.
Is that a bad idea?
Will they let us in there?
Hey, visiting hours.
Dr. C is still wanted.
Oh, that's true. We shouldn't go into the prison unless I go in disguise. Does Dr. C have any of his glamour left from Faerie? It would be risky.
I mean, it seems like a risky plan all around, but if you want to give it a try,
What could go wrong, right?
I mean, it's
well,
going to be
maybe
a
Bear has
deceive
something
roll
more
to-
reasonable. Like I say, Dr. C has gotten a little crazy from his time in Faerie, so I think Bear, you're going to have to talk me down and give me some other thing to chew on.
Crochet the Deathless, huh? I mean, I got goons now, so gosh, why don't we just go for a nice hike in the woods, huh? How's that sound?
Oh, that sounds good. You're right. Maybe prison doesn't sound so good after all. Just wish there was some way we could interview him. At least figure out. Well, actually, we know what we know. He's in love with the queen, so there's nothing that's going to cure him of that.
Oh, it's chronic.
All right.
Okay, we could always visit Baba Yaga, though. That's another possibility.
No, I like that.
I think Baba Yaga is gone. She has fled this
Gone?
plane of
She
existence.
fled this plane. All right, then I guess we take a hike in the woods.
We could go see that. We go see the Owl's Head Devil.
Oh, the also no, he's gone too, right?
Is he
dead.
gone?
I think.
Oh.
Well, actually,
He
we don't
sacrificed
know
himself.
that. We know that he was gonna, sacrifice himself. We don't know what actually happened, but
I mean, if that's what you want to do, you can definitely confirm that the Owl's Head Devil. I don't know how you would confirm this, how you confirm that a legendary cryptid who was in fact like a Fae heir who was in disguise is actually dead. But there's
maybe the
some
body was found and someone from my network, who's very into cryptids, somehow confirmed it.
Mhm. All right.
All right, hike in the woods it is.
Cool. So
Really reasonable Bear.
Vadim and Maeve, I think a burglary check to see a burglary overcome roll to see if you can sneak into the morgue without being noticed. I think probably.
I will give you a +1 because I have burglary as well.
Great. Actually, you have a higher burglary than me. I'll give you a +1 if you roll.
That sounds like a discretionary choice.
What do people think about the difficulty here? I feel unsure about how hard it is to break into the morgue undetected. I think probably difficulty 4, not to be seen.
That seems fair.
So that is a 1 +1 from Maeve is a 2.
Mm-hmm.
So how much do you want this, Maeve?
I'd really like to see the body, but I can't spend my fate points to boost your roll, right?
I am dutiful. I will spend a fate point to get us to a tie.
Okay.
So it seemed like we might be be caught on video kind of thing as a cost.
Yeah, that seems reasonable to me. You can succeed at a cost. So you get in there. You don't think you have much time. You can find the little, manifest that, lists the bodies, which drawer they're in, things like that. And you can open up a drawer, and you will indeed find. Well, I mean, it looks like your own body, your younger self, the one that you met not long ago. It has pretty gruesome wounds, including an address that has been carved into the chest.
What's the address?
So I mean, I'm not going to say what the address is. Like somewhere just nearby, somewhere relatively close. But yeah, just a street address. It's not an address that you recognize. It looks like it's probably like a residential neighborhood. At a glance.
Okay. Well, I turned to Fadim and this is a trap, but actually, no, this is a trap.
What's a trap?
Someone carved an address into the body.
Oh yeah, that's a trap. Do you think the police saw that? Do you think the police have already gone there? Or do you think this is just for you?
I mean, the police would have to be. Sorry.
Like I'll look at the body. Do I see an address carved in?
The car. There's no doubt that the coroner will have seen that, if not the police directly.
They'd have to be blind not to have noticed. Maybe they're still staking it out. I don't know.
What do you want to do, Maeve?
It's too late. We can't take chances anymore. Whoever killed her, she'll be just as dead after we'd handled the queen.
So what do you want to do, Maeve?
We leave it.
Okay.
I'm not going there.
Fair enough. If that's what you want to do, I'll back you up.
Thank you.
We'll like monitor police stuff and see if there's any news related. We keep a Google search, Google alerts up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So I don't think anything will come back to you through that basic level of Google surveillance. But the 4 of you, after your hike, after your escape from the morgue, you do think that you were probably caught on film there. Maeve, you presumably, could be in the most trouble as both someone who's already a fugitive, but also the same person who's just been murdered, in a sense. That potentially a problem. But the 4 of you all have a chance to reassemble and talk about what you're going to do next. Do you tell the others about the address?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to share that, and so we probably need to stay away from there. It's got to be a trap.
So, Dr. C, you recognize the address. I mean, you tell me who it is, but it's someone that you care about's address, whether it's your parents, a family member, an ex, but someone that you know and care for. Who is it?
I'm gonna say it's my mentor, and so she's an old German psychoanalyst
Nice.
who lives in the city, and doesn't take clients anymore. But yeah, she was she I studied under her, and I have a lot of love for her.
Nice. And so what do you do when you find out that her address was carved into Maeve's corpse?
Shit. um, I think it will be shocking to Dr. C, because he hasn't actually spoken to her in a long time. Certainly not since this all started. Um, and I think it's the waves of the release of his whole life. You know, he knew that he had lost his job, but there's something about his connection to her. What's her name? Her name is Greta. Let's call her Greta. Something about her as a mother figure that really tugs at his heartstrings. So whoever did this is knows how to get under Dr. C's skin. Other people might not have caused as much of a reaction in him. So he looks visibly shocked, and he tells everybody, "That's you know, I know that address." And he tells everybody who it is. Is it, I know it's a trap. Is it useless? Is she gone already? Um,
The
Tell me what to do.
police would have, here's the thing. The police would have noted that and would have gone to that address right away. So one or two things has happened. They got there and she's dead, or they've got her in some kind of protective custody. I think you need to reach out to somebody you know and indirectly ask about like her status.
Yeah, so Dr. C gets on the phone and starts, well, he can't really call his old contacts because of they all think he's a murderer. Is that correct? Yes, a murderer and a fugitive, or at least they may think so. So I guess he's going to have to turn to his new friends on the web to see if they have any information that they can give him.
Okay. So you find someone who lives relatively close to there who can like drive by and try and figure out what's up. While you're waiting to hear back from them, Fadim and Bear, you see that the sort of families or the people close to some of your teammates have been targeted. Fadim, you've been trying to reach out and support your younger self and her family. Does that? How do you react to this?
I think that's the point at which I do go and see how one gets a private visit with Koshi.
Nice. So if you call up the prison to find out about how to arrange a private visit, they'll tell you that that's only possible if the prisoner has named you as one of their contacts on their list. But you find that your name is on the list.
Yeah.
I'd
like to.
You and Shanad both, but not Dr. Cifuentes or Maeve.
I would also go.
The two of you are going to go?
If Fadim will have me, I don't want her leaping through the bars.
There's nothing I can. Nothing we're going to do or can do to him.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go see.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Maeve, is there anything that you're doing while Dr. C is waiting to hear back and the other two are going off to see Crochet in prison?
I think I'm just keeping an eye on Dr. C, stopping him from doing anything stupid.
Uh,
Full-time job.
So for Demon Bear, you find yourself, sitting in a little booth with, glass partition and a phone on either side, with various prisoners and their contacts talking to each other. Crochet comes out in that orange jumpsuit, smiles at you both, picks up the phone and waits to hear what you have to say.
So does she want a showdown? Does she want our heads on a platter?
If you were to offer your heads, it might satisfy her.
It was once said that the bodies of your victims would never turn up. Seems that some people will do anything for love.
You think that I'm in love with the Queen? Maybe that was true once, when she was someone. But you ended all that, didn't you? The only thing that I've lived for 1,000 years, and you just threw it away.
Oh no, you still think there's a possibility. You still think this changes. You are still in love. Your protestations are delicious to me.
I was Shane the GM laughing, not Crochet. He glares at you in response.
Look, Crochet, I got about, I'm guessing, 6-7 weeks left before I keel over. So that's the timetable your queen has to get a hold of me and do whatever the fuck she wants to, torture, murder-wise. But she's got a real tight timetable right now. And here's the thing. We didn't do this for ourselves. We didn't do this for our families. We did this for everyone in the world. So your queen can kill whoever she wants. She can rip through all the people that we've loved, hated, known. But the world goes on and she has lost. And I am laughing at her.
You are right about some things, but you are mistaken about some others. The idea
Much like
that
you.
Well, much like all of us, I suppose. The idea that you will live 6 or 7 weeks, I find quite comical. The idea that she wants to hurt the people around you, it's not that she wants to, it's who she is. In the same way, I mean, I've heard the stories. You forced Rumpelstiltskin to give without receiving, and it destroyed her. In the same way, that the Queen would be gone if she was not to seek to devastate her enemies. It's just who she is. She couldn't stop if she wanted to. You know already where you'll find her. You've always known that she's at the Broadsword Hotel. But if you think that she hasn't yet got her hands on you, then I invite you to think about the things that are growing inside you. She need not wait for her revenge. And he looks at you, Bear, and says, has she told you what the Queen did to her?
I have yet to hear.
Soon it will be unmistakable.
Well, then I better get my ass in gear, huh?
Yes, you had.
Anything else you want to ask Loverboy here, Bear?
He wears it all on his sleeve.
He hangs up the phone at that, and he stands up, and the jumpsuit that he's wearing starts to burn, and he is soon completely engulfed in flames. With prison guards running over to try and put it out, but his body sort of drifts apart like sparks, and he's gone.
Once this business with the queen is over, we'd better get looking for a needle inside an egg, inside a duck, inside a dog, inside a chest on an island.
I think we need to get the others, and I think we need to go to the hotel.
No
So,
sense delaying it.
Dr. C, you get word back from your contact. They say, what will they say? Like, they went by the house, they could see that there was an older woman inside. They didn't want to knock on the door because they're pretty sure that was a government surveillance van across the street. On the other hand, you know this person by the nature of who they are to be completely paranoid and convinced that everyone is under government surveillance all the time. That's what comes back.
Okay. And that puts Dr. C somewhat at ease. That she might be okay. I think that'll put his mind at ease around that. So you don't have to look at me quite as fixedly, Maeve. I'm not going to dash out and do something stupid. Not around this, anyways, at the moment.
So the four of you back together with the information that you've received. What is the plan?
I think we need to get our stuff together and go to the broadsword.
I think so.
All right.
Very likely, I say, we're all going to die on this, but at least we'll finish out this particular chapter. Just want you to be aware.
Yes. It's lovely that you're so consistent, Vadim. It warms my heart. I can always count on you to tell us that we're sure to die in the next mission.
And every time we live, it is a moment of wonder.
Got that right.
Bear, do you say anything either to Fadim or the others about what Crochet said about something inside her?
I think he'd say it to Bear first.
Sorry,
to Dr. C first.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of confide in him. Not clear on exactly what Crochet was getting at. I think probably more me as the player and less Bear.
She's been more resigned of late, and I've noticed a shift in her during our time in Faerie. She's convinced she's going to die. I don't know what Crochet's referring to, though.
Crochet seemed awfully smug about it.
We shouldn't talk to her about it. She doesn't want to talk about it. She won't respond well.
And I'm sure with his words, he meant to achieve the same thing that he spoke of, which is plant some kind of seed of doubt in each of us.
In all of us, yeah.
Because he does have me thinking about what sort of things the queen could do if given enough time to grow something inside somebody. Now, I'm equipped with protections and remedies. I learned many a thing from the dearest woman I ever knew, my own grandmother.
I
And
like your grandmother.
she's
I think she liked
exquisitely
me
likable.
too.
There's the biggest bowl I've ever seen. So I will keep all of my wards at hand, all of my protections at hand if something rears its head. But in the meantime, I'm committed to trusting our team to the end.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to tell Maeve. We need to stay focused on the mission. And if something happens with Vadim, we'll be ready for it.
As will she.
All right.
So, Dr. C. Yeah.
So I think that that's where we'll take our first break. We'll come back in
Yes.
about 10 minutes.
So we've gone from snow in a week to being in the mid 70s here today.
Yep, that sounds like Ontario.
Oh, yeah. The Midwest is wild right now. I don't mind if it stays like this for, well, I just don't want to keep having it dip down 30, 40 degrees overnight and keep doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a what? It's hard to do the math, but we had a 20 degrees Celsius change from yesterday to today,
Oof,
which is
that's heavy.
which is crazy. That must be like 50 degrees or something. But yeah, I guess spring is here very quickly.
Yes. My sister has moved back to town, and she, I don't think she was ready for the weather to be as wild and wacky as it has been.
Is it all melting and
It's just there for a day and then it melts, and then it's wet, and then a couple days later it'll freeze,
Mhm.
That's
and then
the worst.
it'll thaw, and now it's just pleasant out.
It's unusually pleasant.
Yes,
Trees
suspiciously.
Okay. Sorry about the delay. Is
No
everyone
worries.
good to continue?
Yeah.
All right. So
I think there's been a little pillow talk between between Bear and Dr. C about maybe taking another approach to the situation with Vadim.
all right. So what do you do?
We get ourselves together and we go to the hotel.
Or we could do the
That's-
spell and see if any of us are ticking time bombs.
We certainly don't do it on the sly.
Don't do it on the fly, no. So, Bear, maybe you'd be better at convincing Vadim. I'll do backup.
Surely Dr. C is the more convincing person in this party.
Okay, I can give it a
You
shot.
mean the psychologist?
So the next time we're together, Dr. C says, Vadim, Bear told me what Crochet said. I think we
Would you
have to
call
take.
it unexpected?
It was a lot to hold on to, okay?
I didn't swear you to secrecy. I didn't even ask you. So you have every right to say what you're going to say.
That's it.
I think we need to know if you or any of us, we all spent years in Faerie, we could have been compromised in some way that might come out during this battle. If we were to use a spell from Baba Yaga's book.
Oh, no.
I knew you were going to say no. I didn't know that it was going to be 3. I thought it would be 4.
Look, we are so close. My death warrant was signed a long time ago. I knew that. You saw it before. When I came back in time, all of that fayness, all of that magic, my blood was already poisoned. And every time we got close to the Fae, to the fairy, you saw me. You saw the blood. And then we went and spent a year in Faerie. Now, I went willingly. I didn't say anything, but I knew what was going to happen. And that's what has happened. Now, we may get into a situation here where she may be able to do something about that. She may be able to manipulate it in some ways. And I fully hope that you 3 will put me out if that happens. But I don't have much longer to live, and I want to see this through. And I don't want you to poison yourself with this book on something as trivial as this when you may need that energy for what is about to come.
Absolutely. I'm with Vadim.
That's all I wanted to hear you say. I'm happy to die alongside you. I just needed to know tactically that Maeve will have a
I
gun
reach out
ready.
my hand, I put my hand on your shoulder and I say, I will not be happy for you to die alongside me. I want you, Dr. C, and Maeve to live. And I really hope that happens. But we need to get our ass in gear.
I am outvoted. I concede to the will of the group. Let's go kick some ass.
So
Okay.
this seems like a good time just to remind you of a mechanic that hasn't come up in the game before that you may want to draw on in the next session or so, which is the heroic last stand. So it is described on the basic actions tab on the right-hand side, but your character at any time can choose to make a heroic last stand to win at the cost of their own life. And it says this could be an impossible victory, miraculous escape, dramatic change to the timeline, etc. But whatever it is, it should be worth the sacrifice. So just to be aware that that's something that you could do.
I didn't remember we had that, but I'm amazed at my own foresight for having laid the tracks for this.
Very good.
I literally had forgotten that. That's great.
So you're heading to the broadsword. Tell me about that. Like, what time are you going to get there? Do you want to do some? Well, let's assume that you do some basic recon first. So it's quite a beautiful old Beaux-Arts hotel building that has fallen into pretty serious disrepair and is now a sort of what do you call it? I think in America you call it a single room occupancy hotel. Is that right? Do people know what I mean by that? Here we'd call it a rooming house, a boarding house, just like for rooms that are rented out cheaply to a fairly transient population, often pretty low standard. That's what you see from the outside. That's the sort of basic information that's available to you. It's 3 stories tall. There's probably about a dozen rooms on each floor, as well as there's a ground floor sort of lobby area. You'll definitely, if you do some Googling, there'll definitely be reports of various petty crimes over the years, a stabbing here or there, things like that. Nothing that really stands out. So tell me about how you approach the building, what time of day. You're going to walk in through the front door? Are you going to split up? What's going to be the plan? Vadim?
I think we go in at the liminal time of either dusk or dawn. I don't think there's any like chicanery that's going to work. I think we go in and we face this down. I say dawn. That way we can get up, have a nice cup of coffee, a little bagel with some cream cheese on it, maybe even a little salmon, capers. Have that, eat, go on in.
Wouldn't the liminal time make her stronger? Would we want to do the least liminal time possible?
No, I think she's at her height of the powers at the high noons and the midnights. This is the time that's the trapped in between. She's an elemental force of pure who she is. That's my theory. But again,
makes sense.
I'll point out I have a 0 in academics and a 0 in lore, so I could be a way off base.
What do you think, Auntie Shona?
Well, you're gonna have to tell us what Auntie Shona tells you.
I totally me as a player, that totally hits and resonates with the height of her power at the fullness of the night and the day. I think that makes some good sense. It might mean that in the liminal times that there are openings and that fairies closer, and that sort of thing. But that's not necessarily disadvantage. I like dawn. It's got hope to it. It's the hour of the rooster, who is our friend, our brave warrior.
What what do we know about the other aspects of this scene and the Sealy crown? I don't remember what we know about those things.
I mean, I think effectively you've taken the unseelie crown out of play because she handed her crown over to the new queen.
So that's out of play. Got it. All right. So it's just the hotel and
I mean, at this point, you would really say that rather than divided Fae forces, she is supported by the Russian mob.
got it. Mobsters.
There's some Fae forces in there too.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
We'll find out.
Certainly we will.
Maeve, how do you feel about a dawn attack?
Dawn works for me.
All right. Has anyone taken on Fadim's advice to like make a will, say some last words, reach out to loved ones, anything like that? Or is that just like, oh, that's so Fadim?
My loved ones all think I'm dead already. So.
True.
I don't have any resources anymore. Lost my apartment. You know, my savings are gone. So I don't have anything to really leave except, my legacy. So, yeah, no will for Dr. C.
All right. So you go in the front door of the hotel at dawn. I think, what will you see? So the lobby, there's a few chairs. They're all old and stained. There's somebody sleeping in them. He looks like, maybe a resident, maybe someone homeless. There's an old fireplace that's all bricked up. It hasn't been used in a long time. There's a bank of elevators that lead up into the building somewhere. And there is a large sort of reception area, larger than you'd expect for a building like this, quite old-fashioned. And there's a man standing behind it, wearing some sort of old-fashioned concierge uniform. And he smiles warmly as you come in.
I drop a bag with a bagel on the counter and say, "This is for you. I think we're expected."
It's very kind. I don't have any reservations.
Oh, well, then we just had to get some rooms.
Oh, well, we sure have some rooms. So he goes through, paying in advance, the basic rules: no pets, no guests, no parties, and yeah.
Oh. Light partying.
You're not going to give me any trouble, are you, fella?
At least two might. And I motion back to my my drinking buddies.
But he gets you to sign a guest book. He pointedly does not ask for any ID. Takes your cash and hands over a set of 4 keys.
Thank you so much. What was your name?
My name's Lizette, Alma Lizette.
Okay.
And then you want to head to the elevators, or what do you do?
Yeah, let's go to the elevators.
So you push the bell. The elevator opens up. You see that even though this is a 3-story building, the buttons on the elevator, which again is very old-fashioned, go up to the 13th floor. What do you do?
I think we push the button for the 13th floor.
Wait, I want to push it.
Please, after you. Dr.
Dr. C likes to push buttons. So he's going to push the button, the 13th floor button.
Okay. So you close the cage, you push the button for 13, the old lift sort of lurches to life and starts to slowly draw itself up the cable. What is your plan when the door opens at the top? Are you going to just go in shooting, or?
I mean, we probably aren't going to be able to trick our way past the Faerie Queen. Just go in shooting, hit hard, hit fast.
I don't think we go in shooting. I say to Maeve, I think we let the doors open and then we take a peek out, because it's just as likely that she'll have innocent standing there.
Haven't we already won?
Yeah.
We've won when she's dead, and not a moment before.
Dr. C, as you ask Maeve and Fadim, haven't you already won? You realize that they're not in the elevator with you anymore. Just you and Bear.
Oh, we've lost our friends, Bear. Did you see where they went? It's a box. How did they get out? This is fairy magic.
Certainly, yes.
Are we still going to the 13th floor?
I have to imagine so, but I don't think it's as simple as straight up to the top. Might be taking a few twisty turns.
I have dreams like that sometimes, yes. Where elevators go in strange curves.
What does Freud have to say about that?
Tubes, curved tubes that rise upward. Yes, Freud has many things to say about that. Anything that rises, elevators in particular.
So Maeve and Fadim, you hear Dr. C ask, haven't we already won? And then you realize that the two of them are gone, that you're alone in the elevator. Well, that the two of you together are alone in the elevator. Are you muted, Lol?
I turn to Maeve and I say, I still think we don't go in shooting. You're muted.
Sorry, Maeve.
Fine. Fine. No, we're not going in shooting, but you're taking point. And just to be safe, I'm gonna move around in the elevator to make sure they're not just invisible and still in here.
They're not. They're gone. They're somewhere else.
Okay.
So the light indicating that you've arrived at the 13th floor, Maeve and Fadim, the doors open. What do you see that you're surprised by when the doors open, Fadim?
I think I'm surprised that it may illustrate like some limits to the Faerie Queen's powers, that we do see, a changed fantastical floor, but it's still very clearly a hotel. Like, I expected us to step into a grotto or castle or something wild and fantastic, but she's got some limits now, and I think we do see a weird Art Nouveau style, big, gallery, Great Gatsby kind of style thing, but it's still a building. It's still a hotel.
Nice. And Maeve, what are you surprised to see?
I think it's not even like a rundown hotel, even like it's the cracks are showing more than just like how much it's changed. It's like even the parts she's changed don't look that good.
Nice. And of course, you also see Crochet, who is waiting for you there, sitting in some sort of chair that he's drawn up to just in front of the elevators. He's wearing a nice double-breasted suit jacket. And he looks to see what you'll both do.
Step in and off to the side And if Maeve starts shooting, then I'll change what I'm doing.
What does Maeve do?
I step in and pointedly glance at you like, are you sure we can't shoot him?
Like I said we shouldn't start shooting in case there were innocents when the doors open. That's kosher. It's up to you.
I turn to him and
Sorry, just to interrupt. I just want to give Fadim the chance if you want to get your stunt off here by abruptly breaking out the action.
Yeah, I do think there is that moment. I say that like I'm pointedly drawing the attention to Maeve, and then the axe is there out of nowhere, and I'm going to bring that down on him.
Nice. So we'll come back to that and see how it plays out. On the Rise of the Faerie Queen tab, I've put in a zone for the two of you that's called Floor A, and a zone that Dr. C and Bear are about to find called Floor B. If you want to give them more evocative names, you're very welcome. I just wanted to distinguish them in some way. I'm just going to copy Kosher's aspects over into the Keeper as well. He gets 2 free invokes on his always has a plan aspect. All right, oops. So Dr. C and Bear, I'm going to ask you the same question. As the door opens on the 13th floor or this other 13th floor, what do you see that you're surprised by? Bear?
I think that Dr. C is well versed in the language of dreams and the strange things that come out of people's minds. And I think to contrast the other floor, I think this is a realm that is reflecting the current state of the queen and the sort of Fae place where she would be at home. I think Bear is more familiar at seeing through glamours, but also seeing through to Faerie, and Dr. C is experienced in maneuvering through dreams. So I think it's like it's dawn, and it's like a bleak like dying twisted wood that still seems to be like a hallway or contained by walls, but without a roof apparent. And there's a black sun. It is dawn, but there's like a black sun rising above the horizon, above the sky, directly across from us. So it's like the most unseelie kind of like trip into Fae, I think, that we could take.
Nice. And Dr. C, same question. Apart from what Bear's just described, what surprises you?
So I imagine that they step out into this wood, probably hand in hand, because Dr. C wanted to make sure he didn't get separated from Bear if she was trying to divide and conquer. And there's like a smell of rotting meat, decay. As you look at the ground, it's almost moving with I guess bugs and worms and vermin and things that are devouring themselves and devouring the environment, and the trees look very dead. So it's a pretty ominous floor B is very ominous.
Nice. And so you'll have your own Kosher. I'm going to put them into the initiative order as Kosher A and B, for want of better. Koshai will say to you, Bear, that my men have your grandmother. Side with us now, or you will not see her again.
Family have spent millennia dying to keep the most wicked of your kind from enacting your will upon the mortal world. And my grandma would do the same, as will I.
Well, indeed you will. All right. So I think that the fight breaks out. So Fadim, you were going to lead us off. Why don't you take the first turn?
Yes, I am. Yes, I will. All right. So I'm going to take a swing with my stunt. And let's see how this goes. That is an 8.
Ooh. So I'm going to roll. So sorry, can you describe the action?
So it's that my axe comes out from behind my arm and then swing, and I'm bringing it down, trying to split him in twain from the neck at an odd angle downward.
All right. So I'm rolling defense. 6 shifts of harm. So for a second, you think that you have successfully split him in half. But then you realize that what you're looking at is not one of Koshai's duplicates, but a little pile of the sort of mangled, half-formed bodies that are produced when his duplication process goes wrong. And you've hacked one of them out of the way. One of them is destroyed. But the other one that takes the form mostly of legs and little fragments of eye and finger, that's still alive and it rises from the chair. Who do you pass the initiative to?
I pass the initiative to it.
Nice. Well, it is going to try and cast a spell back at you. So this one, it's only rolled a 1. You can defend using will.
I will defend using will. That is a 3.
All right. It will. So the Koshai things are going to spend a fate point to invoke their weird misshapen duplicates aspect, which will not be enough to actually hurt you, but will give them a boost on the next turn.
Spend those points.
All right. And who will it pass the initiative to? Oh. So Fadim has taken a turn. Koshai A has taken a turn. I guess it will want to see what Maeve will do next. So Maeve, take a turn.
I think I am. Yeah, I'm just gonna shoot it.
Go. Or all that attack.
Rolling. 2 total.
All right. I'll roll the defense. Okay, so it succeeds by 2.
All right. I'm gonna. I'm feeling lucky. I'm gonna spend an aspect, or a fate point on my always have a go back to reroll.
Sure.
5.
Nice. So that means that it takes 3 shifts of harm. Is that what we were looking at? No, 1 shift of harm.
Yeah, it'd be 1. Yeah.
All right. Are you happy with 1 shift, or do you want to put some more aspects on that?
I think I'll stick with the 1 for now.
All right. Cool. And who do you pass the initiative to?
I will hand it to Dr. C.
Dr. C. What do you do?
So Dr. C, what he's seeing is Cochet in this forest, right? In this darkened forest. And but he's suspicious of, he knows Cochet has many bodies and many seemings. So I think Dr. C is going to use his turn to try to create an advantage by seeing what this creature actually is and whether it is actually Cochet or something different that might have a different vulnerability.
Oh yeah, that's cool. So I think he'll defend using will. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you're going to try and create an advantage using law
Either law or empathy.
or notice or, oh yeah, empathy I think works.
All right, let's see what we got here. It's a 7.
All right. So he'll roll to defend using, what do we say, will. His will is quite strong. Oh, that's a tie.
Hi.
So that'll get you a boost.
As opposed to an aspect.
As opposed to an aspect, yeah. So it's the same number of free invokes. You just won't be able to invoke the aspect with a fate point after you've used it.
Okay. I think that's cool.
All right. What will you call the aspect that you create?
So there's some kind of I think Dr. C is seeing some kind of decay built into this simulacrum. This copy, simulacrum. That's what it's called. Yeah. So some kind of decay built into it, and can see that it can be shattered more easily than a full body. So let's just call it decay.
Right. Nice. And I think that the other thing that you realize as you sort of like, try and figure out what exactly is going on with Cochet, you feel that the needle is close by. Not necessarily here with you, but in this hotel somewhere. You sense that in the like unusual anxiety that he's feeling right now, as if there's a prospect of his real death for the first time in millennia.
Okay.
And who do you pass the initiative to?
I think I'll pass to Cochet B.
All right. So I think that he is going to try and create an advantage for himself here. What will he do? All right. He'll just sort of release this dazzling mystical aura, this enchantment that sort of wraps around you both. Well, that's what he's going to try and do. I guess it makes sense that whichever of you has the higher will can roll a defense on this, if that works for you. So he's only rolled a 3 to create an advantage.
It looks like I've got the higher will, so I roll.
Oh, it's a tie. So he'll definitely spend a fate point to invoke his immortal sorcerer aspect, which will bring that to a success. That'll give him a new aspect with a free invoke on it. Do you want to use any?
Actually, my new
tell us about the new stunt. Yeah.
This is a mental or a supernatural attack, and so I get a +2 on that.
So it's not an attack yet. It's a create an advantage.
Oh, okay. All right. So it wouldn't apply. Let's see what it says. It says, yeah, it only against attacks. Okay. All right, then I can use a So right now he's getting an aspect, right?
An aspect with a free invoke.
With a free invoke. And if I were to
If you
if I
spend
use
a fate point, that'll bring him down to a boost.
to a boost, right? Which is going to be almost the same thing, really, unless yeah. So I'm not gonna spend it.
All right. Well, in that case, he's going to spend a second fate point because he really wants more free invokes on this. He will invoke his, well, he'll spend a fate point to invoke his always has a plan aspect and give it an extra. And that will mean that he's running out of fate points, but he has 2 free invokes on the aspect that he's creating.
Well, I can bid as well, right? Again. So if I use a fate point and an aspect, then that would take it back to a boost, right?
No, so he's at the moment he's beating you by 4. That'll take it back down to 2, so he'll only get an aspect with 1 free invoke out of it.
Whoa. Okay. I'll do it. Let's see if I can use any of the aspects. Would resist anything except temptation work in this? Because I'm trying
I mean,
to
you
resist
tell me
something.
about how it works.
Yeah, I'm just thinking I'm resisting. It's not a temptation that I'm resisting. I'm just resisting everything that he's doing. Yeah. Okay. And then.
And just to let you know, you don't need to be tracking the use of timeline aspects and stuff because we won't be altering the timeline anymore in this event.
Okay, so if I use that one and then I use the Iron Fist and a Velvet Glove, then that should bring me up to a tie.
Right, take him back down to a boost. I think that he will settle for a boost at this point. I'm not going to spend my last fate point for the scene. All right, and that means that Bear, it's your turn. You're the last one who hasn't acted in the round.
All right. Bear is going to, after a trip to his homeland, I think we see that he has a hilt at his side, and I think he steps calmly into the mist and draws an iron claymore from the hilt at his side.
Nice.
And calls out to Cochet and says, I've been to places like this before, and I know what it means. I know that death is upon us. And it will come for those of us who fear it most. And I can smell your fear, even in this wretched place. And I'm gonna try to, I'm just gonna try to go after him through the mist and just try to track him with my senses and slice him down.
Nice. I'll roll that attack.
All right. My boosted fight, which I just brought up, did a bit of training.
Nice.
And it's a 2.
Right.
You know.
Roll his defense.
Let's see what he's
All right.
got.
He's got a 5 by way of defense. That's going to give him a boost as well because he's succeeding with style.
Ooh.
Do you want to spend a fate point, which will not cause any damage to him, but will stop him from getting a boost?
No.
All right. So he's going to take the advantage, the boost Bear lost in the mists. I mean, I don't want to say this is too dramatic. I don't mean like you're lost, but just like you're a bit disoriented.
No, I like it.
Cool. All right. Should we take a short break here? Just at the top of the round, that might make sense. So let's take 5 minutes and we'll come back and continue.
So there was a very surreal moment for me, Shane, when you walked away and you left your mic on, and I could hear birds, and I was like, "Holy fuck, that's the sound of birds!" Like half the globe away. I had like my mind kind of broke a tiny bit. So, whereas in my area, there are no leaves on the trees, but it's nice
Yeah,
out. So
right.
all you hear is the sound of people riding their fucking motorcycles with this with it carrying now that it's nice out.
Yeah, we live on quite a street that's quite far away from anywhere that traffic would really go. So it's very quiet and there's quite a lot of trees around. It's pretty nice.
That's nice. It's not a big town, but the city's about 100,000. But we're pretty close to the downtown, and like the hospital is a 10-minute walk away. And so the medical coppers come over our house and stuff.
Yeah, I used to live opposite the emergency ward at a local hospital. It was not a great place to get a good night's sleep.
Oh yeah. I lived a block down from a firehouse for several years, and did that Academy of the Blade Keeper help? Is that
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
got everything you need? Okay.
Yeah. I'm excited to run that, but I am most excited about eventually coming to the San Francisco 1905 version.
Yeah.
That was the one that it was the least intuitively appealing to me. Like I think I skimmed over it the first time I read it, but then when I actually read it, I was like, this has so much good stuff in it. This is great.
It's really rich. They did a smart job because they had just started working on Jiangxi when they did that, and they were able to repurpose a lot of the materials in a really smart way. I love it when people can double up on that kind of stuff. I finally broke down and backed that tiny tome collection on Kickstarter. It's like 51-page games. And Curious Cat's improv game is in there. It just
Cool.
sound like, 50 designers. It looks good. I'm trying to avoid Kickstarter, but I'll do it. And then I'm like, oh, and it's in Australian dollars.
Oh, that's good. Handy. One thing I really like, one thing that I've always liked about Kickstarter, I'm also trying to avoid it more now, is that it makes, even though I said in Blake's thread recently that I don't really need physical, objects, I'm perfectly happy with the PDF. It is a way better way for me to buy physical copies of games because it means that I buy the product at this end and then many months later I pay the shipping. Whereas trying to pay shipping to Australia and like a hardcover book at the same time is like pretty overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah.
Is there a go-to replacement for Kickstarter yet?
There are some options out there, but they're much smaller. Their footprint is much lower right now. I know some people are working on things. I had a Kickstarter with where I backed stupidly, but I had to have it. The full box miniatures game of the Monster Hunter World game. With all the stuff and all the miniatures and things, because I love the video game. And they just had the thing now where, and now like a year later, you get to pay your shipping. And of course, things have changed since they did their campaign. And there was a little bit of sticker shock right there. It's like, yikes. Are video games still pretty like higher in Australia too, significantly?
I can say I've never really been into video games.
Oh, okay.
I've played The Witcher 3. One time I was like, I want to get into video games. Everyone says this is a good one. I'm going to play it. And then I played it obsessively for like a month or however long it was, like every spare minute. And then when I was done, I was like, okay, I'm done with that now.
That happens to me all the time.
It's weird. Yeah, I didn't get into video games until I was in like my late 20s at all. Like I'd never really done any of that. So
I was tempted by Elden Ring recently. Like lots of people on Twitter were talking about it, but then someone said, "Oh no, that's that one's really hard, Shane. It's not for your like entry level video game skills."
TTRPGs like cured me of video games completely.
Really?
I'm totally bored by video games. So now it's like I just want to play these games instead.
I like them for the way I can turn my mind off when I play some of the turn-based stuff. And I could listen to audiobooks when I there. So
that's cool. I got the audiobook of A Deadly Education that you mentioned.
Oh, okay.
To read that, to listen to that.
I had another recommendation that somebody gave me that I just started called Gideon the Ninth.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Which is lesbian necromancer space pirates. And yeah, it kind of, as far I've got, it's like, okay, yeah, that is what it is. It's quite good so far.
I'll get back to the game in a sec, but I just want to say my book recommendation this week. I just got this book called Manhunt, and it's a post-apocalyptic horror novel by a trans author. And the premise is that it's about these two trans women after the apocalypse who are hunting men so they can harvest the estrogen from their testicles to maintain their gender. And it is unbelievably disgusting, but really great.
It's interesting because I've seen a lot of and a lot of pushback about it on Twitter. So,
well, I'm really enjoying it. But certainly can see that it's not for everyone. All right, shall we pick up the game again?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Bear, you had the last turn in that round, so you can either take another turn or pass the initiative to someone else. What do you want to do?
I'll pass across to the other side to Maeve.
All right, Maeve, what will you do?
Back to shooting little coachy things.
All right. Well, make an attack roll.
4.
I roll their defense. Oh, 3 shifts of harm. All right, so you get a pretty good shot in on it. It's bleeding pretty badly. If you are interested in using an aspect, you feel like you could probably bring that up to a success. Sorry, you could actually take it out. Although I
Absolutely.
still have a fate point left, so.
Can I spend a fate point on the weird misshapen duplicates thing? They're not that sturdy. I can just blast them to pieces.
Well, yeah, but if you, okay, so you can spend a fate point to do that for sure. They're going to spend a fate point to invoke the same aspect. That's my last fate point for the scene. Because they are weird misshapen duplicates, so it's easier to hurt them in some ways, but it's easier for them to survive in others. So it just manages to hold itself together. You want to use another fate point?
Yes, I'll spend it on my changeling infiltrator thing just to gun skills.
All right. So you do, well, tell us about how you kill it.
Riddle them with bullets until they stop moving, and a few more after that, just to make sure.
All right. Well, you've taken out, I think that was Crochet A. Who would you like to pass the initiative to?
I guess I'll give it to Dr. C.
All right. So Dr. C, you hear in some sort of weird distance, a direction that you can't quite point to, the death cry of whatever that thing was. What do you do?
So I think Dr. C is So he learned that the needle is here, and he wants to know where the needle is. And he knows that the crochet bee is afraid that they will find the needle. And so I think he's trying to perceive if he can get any clue as to where the needle, what direction it might be in, or where he might search for it by studying crochet bee.
All right. So maybe like overcome using empathy, and he'll defend using will.
Sure.
Cool. Nice roll. So he'll roll defense. Oh, you get your answer and you get a boost as well. So annoying that I'm out of fate points. There's something about the way his eyes flicker down. You think that the needle is somewhere below you. In fact, all the way below you in the basement or a sub basement, but all the way at the bottom of this building is where you'll find it. Give the boost a name. What do you?
I'll call it needle in our sights.
Nice. Cool. And who do you pass the initiative to?
Let's send it back to the other group, to Fadim.
All right. Fadim, what do you do?
So this crochet thing is down.
They're both dead.
Then I am going to keep moving forward. And I'm humming a little tune to myself as I put my axe on my shoulder. And I think I am going to try and like psych myself up. I'd like to try and like get myself into it with like will to try and create an advantage.
Yeah, I love that. I think, well, you tell me, what's the difficulty? Like, how hard is it going to be to psych yourself up at this point?
We just took crochet out, but we don't know what's coming. I'd say 2.
Yeah, I think that's
That
fair.
seem fair?
Yeah. All right, so that's a boost.
That's a boost. I'll take the boost.
All right. Nice. And who will you pass the initiative to?
I will pass the initiative to, let me look and see exactly who hasn't gone yet. It is Bear and Crochet B who have not gone yet. I will pass it to Crochet. How bad off is Crochet B?
Pretty fresh.
He's fresh.
Yeah,
Okay,
pretty
then I'll
fresh.
pass it to him.
Um,
Pass it to him.
Cool. Okay. So Koshé B will take a turn. Bear, as you sort of blindly swing through the mists looking for him, the force of his power just like rises up and lashes out at you. So he's going to make an attack roll using his magic. And he's rolled a 5. You want to roll defense using will?
Yes.
All right, so he's doing 3 shifts of harm there. He's going to use his free invokes here to make that really hurt. So he is going to use, well, let's start with his boost. So he's going to use both his Bear Lost in the Mists and his enchantment boost. And that will take it up to what, 7 shifts of harm. And I think
Wow.
that he's also carefully planned to draw you out into this spot where he can really hit you. And he's going to use his one of his free invokes on always has a plan as well, for a total of 9 shifts of harm.
9 shifts. Okay. I'm going to Okay, I'm going to use a free invoke. So needle in our sights is just a general aspect, right? It's just like, but it's more Dr. C has an idea of where, right?
Yeah. I mean, the other boost on his decayed body probably makes more sense to use as a starting point if Dr. C is okay with you taking one of his boosts.
Yeah. And his magic is just kind of like swelling up in this mist to kind of surround me.
Yeah.
And I'm resisting it. Okay. I will use decayed. I will use decayed body.
All right.
And I think I'm lashing out wildly with my claymore in the mist. And I think like I will land a few like weak strikes, but instead of feel a glancing blow like I'm used to with an armored opponent, I'll just feel like it kind of sloughs something off. And I'm not really getting at the core of him, but I think I'm harrying him. And this is Bear like full exertion, these wild swings. But then I feel like the mist starts to swirl up around me, and I start to feel like I'm being choked by it. And there's that smell all in my nose and in my mouth. And then I think we hear the ding of the elevator, and another doorway opens on one side of the mist, and my Auntie Shauna comes out of the doorway, and I'm also going to use Bear as backup. Does that make sense, or is that a little bit shenanigans? Okay. So I think my auntie comes out and shouts for me, and I hear her voice, and I rally a little bit. And so that brings me to 5 shifts. And I'll spend 1 on descended from the enemies of wicked fairies. I keep just using my trouble as a plus here, but I think I'd say like, you'll take my grandmother, will you? Well, she used to pass wind that smelled worse than this. And I think it's definitely getting me down and choking me out, but I think there's enough there. So I'll take 3 to my mental stress.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess I'll let you choose
more.
whether you want to allocate this to physical or mental. It's a magical attack that has both sort of emotional and physical components. So decide which way you want to go. But he's also going to invoke his last always has a plan aspect to bring it back up to 5 shifts of harm.
And 5 will put me past my 4th box and will be a mild consequence.
You can absorb it using absorb part of it using consequences. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, I'll take a mild and mark 3 boxes of physical stress.
All right. So the mild consequence is like an aspect with a name. So what's the aspect like? What's the lasting effect of this magic?
I think it's like a. I think I'm like breathless. I think I'm having a hard time like catching my breath, and my words aren't coming as loudly as they used to. So I'm just getting worn down.
All right. So I've added that as a scene aspect, and that means that Crochet's turn is over, and he will have no choice but to pass the initiative to you. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that the mist is gathering and getting thicker, and sort of feels like it's like I'm swallowing something thick, almost like it's like really choking me up. And my auntie's calls are getting quieter, and I think I fall to my knees in the sludge, and I can feel the vermin moving underneath me. And I think I pull out from my pack a small church bell, and I think I pull out an iron rune wand, and I just start like clanging it from where I am, and like quietly I'll say like, "Hear this, Gaucher, Alexander, this is your death knell, you bastard." And I want to use lore to create an advantage.
Cool. We'll go ahead and roll it.
So I just used up all of our free books.
Well, but so did Crochet, if that makes you feel any better.
It does. That's a 1.
I'm gonna roll his defense. That's a 2.
I will spend to reroll.
What aspect are you invoking to reroll?
I'm going to spend
I mean, you could spend it to invoke that you have backup and have your auntie pull out her own bell.
yeah. I think I want to invoke King of the Beasts, my enchantment aspect. So I think like I'm clanging this bell, and we can almost see the life going out of Shanad. Like I'm like my eyes are fluttering a little bit, and then I think I open them again, and they're just pitch black, and I start like getting up to my feet again, like clanging this bell so hard that it cracks. And I kind of assume a bear-like posture and just start to roar under my breath. So I guess I'll just invoke. I'll just give a +2, so I'll go to 3.
All right. So you create what's the aspect that you create?
The aspect is I guess we can just call it death knell, yeah. I'm basically like invoking the last rite of Alexander's life, knowing that the needle is nearby and knowing that death will come for one of us.
All right.
The bell tolls, let's call it that.
The bell tolls, that's great. And who do you pass the initiative to?
It's a new round.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
And on the other side, they're moving forwards through the hotel, right?
I guess it's not really clear what they're going to do on their next set of turns. The enemy that they had is faded.
You take your side, work your side out.
Yeah, I'll pass to Alonso.
All right, Dr. C. What do you do?
Oh, say, okay, so Alonso is going to use his stunt, disturbingly insightful, to make a mental attack. And he's going to say something like, Oh, so the needle's in the basement. Your end is near. And let's see, where's that roll with me? There it is.
All right.
I
I'll
got a
roll
5.
defense. All right. That's 2 shifts of harm.
Okay, and if I were to use one of our aspects, that would I don't know whether that would take him out, right?
Yeah.
But it would do more damage.
It would do more damage.
Mhm. Well, needle in our sights makes sense since since that's what I'm leveraging right now.
Mhm.
And let me just go with Belt Toll since I've got him on the ropes. So I'll use both of those and see if I can take him out.
All right. So that won't be enough to take him out, but it will be enough to force him to use his consequence slot. So he's going to pick up the aspect. What will we call it? Like, he's just terrified. He doesn't want to admit it, but you can see it in his eyes. Yeah.
And if I added one more, I could take him out.
One more would be enough to take him out.
Should I do it? I guess I should. I'll use one of my points. Yeah, I'll do yeah, Iron Fist and the Velvet Glove. I'll take down one of my fate points.
Nice. So what do you want to describe how he's taken out? What does it look like?
I think the terror around the true death and the body is kind of a jumble. It's kind of it's been put together to house his soul, and it just falls apart like a bunch of you know doll parts. Just his arms fall off, his his head falls off. He kind of lolls to the side, and he just kind of decompensates completely and goes to pieces. And all the bugs in the ground and the worms just swarm over his body parts and take him back to the earth from which he came.
Nice.
Yeah, to just add a little note to that, I think Bear like stumbles up out of the mist, like sword in hand, eyes fully black, and like goes to swing at Cochet and hears Dr. C's voice like in the distance, and that kind of like brings him back to his humanity. And like as he's like hesitating mid swing, and like Cochet maybe has the upper hand on him, he just starts to fall apart as like the words sink in.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So out of initiative now, Bear and Dr. C, what do you do?
Bear, Dr. C runs over to Bear because he saw him like take a big hit from Cochet, and just puts his hand on Bear's shoulder as he comes back from his dark bear form. Are you okay?
Mm-hmm. I think I just like breathe heavily, and like I'm not capable of a lot of speech for a few minutes, but I think you can see my eyes softening.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
I just kind of like, what did you say?
I was gonna say Dr. C just kind of pets your head a bit.
Yeah.
To bring you back in.
And I think I just kind of like nudge my head forwards and stand up slowly and shamble through the mist.
And
The
all
needle's
four,
in the basement. Okay.
all 4 of you hear the ding of the elevator opening behind you, wherever you have ended up. Fadim and Maeve, what do you do?
Head back to the elevator, see who's inside.
Turn around slowly, start making our way back. Let Maeve take point this time.
So you see that the light indicates that the elevator is going down. Bear and Dr. C, do you also get back into one of these elevators, or what do you do?
Yeah, Dr. C definitely, the first thing he says to Bear is, Bear, the needle's in the basement. We should take him out for good. I'm tired of this guy.
Bell tolls.
Bing. So yeah, I think we get into the elevator and hit the basement B.
All right. I mean, you see that the basement light is already on.
Hmm.
And you realize that the four of you have been reunited, that you're all in the elevator together again, heading to the basement.
Hey
Going
guys.
down.
And the lift travels down for an inordinately long time. The lights indicate that it passed below the ground floor, well, a long time ago, seconds, minutes. That eventually it opens in some sort of sub-basement onto a dark room. The light of the elevator spilling out is the only light. And you see just a small, only enough to cast a small amount of light into the area in front of you. You can tell that the room sort of twists or turns away from what you can see right now. But you can also feel the Fae presence here, unmistakable, that the Queen is close by. What do you do?
Is everybody ready?
All right, yeah.
Let's go.
I'm ready. I'm ready to get that needle. I'm tired of that Gaucher guy, man. God. He just keeps coming back.
Do any of you have a light source? Are you using your phones? How are you navigating?
Yeah, I like the phones.
I think I brought a flashlight.
Yeah, you've got to go back.
Yeah, you've got to go back, of course.
Yeah.
So you sort of have to work through some little twisting hallways to come out anywhere. And the place where the Queen has sort of established her, I mean, she probably thinks of it as a throne room, although it's far below the standards that she's used to. The pile of refuse that she's sitting on top of is some sort of basement space. The roof is quite low. There's a lot of columns holding the roof up around the place that could be cover or anything like that. Behind the pile of refuse that she's sitting on, the basement just opens onto the void, some sort of field of stars and darkness. And that's enough to illuminate the room now that you're around here. And standing by the Queen, there's a couple of cochers, one to her left and one to her right, and probably about a half dozen of the little sort of mangled crochet body things. And Dr. C, you're probably the first to notice that the Queen is wearing in her hair, like pinned up with a needle that is unmistakably Crochet's needle. Are any of you going to act first, or is she going to get her first move here?
I'll shoot her first. Actually, no, I'm going to line up a shot. I never do that, but I'm going to.
I think I will kind of I'll start moving forward, and I say we need to settle this mother to mother.
She looks at you, waiting to hear what you have to say.
And that's it. I start striding forward with the axe.
All right, let me just punch in a couple of her aspects. Okay, so I think that Maeve, you're lining up your shot. That was the first thing. Tell us how. So you roll to create an advantage using shoot. Is that right?
Yes.
And I assume that you're lining up to shoot the queen herself.
That's right. I got a 6.
All right, I'll roll her defense. So that's a success. If you spend a fate point, you'll get a boost out of that.
All right.
You want to take a boost, or do you want to bring it up to a full aspect?
Yeah, I'll bring it up to a full aspect. Yeah, spend a fate point on that.
All right, so going to create the aspect queen in Maeve's sights. You get a free invoke on it. I'm just going to clear the old Cochet's terrified thing because you killed him or took him out. Needle in our sights was a boost, so that's gone as well. The bell tolls doesn't really apply anymore. Bear hasn't had a chance to recover, so you still have the breathless aspect from your consequence. All right, and Maeve, who do you pass the initiative to?
I'll give it to Fadim.
Fadim, what do you do?
I am just going for her. I am just trying to get to her, with to get up to engage her with as much sort of force and move as I can muster. I know that there are Cochets in the way, but I'm going to try and reach her.
Yeah, so I think that you're going to need to get into range with her while the Cochets are still there. I think that's going to be an overcome action, so you won't get to attack on this turn. Does that sound okay?
Okay. Sure. Does that feel like athletics or physique?
Yeah, or fight, I think makes sense as well. You're like fighting your way past them.
I will gladly take fight. So yeah, I'm going to spend. And I am going to spend.
Do you want me to roll the defense first to see what it looks like?
Yeah, go ahead and roll the defense. We know what's going to come next.
It was two of the worst rolls that I think anyone's seen in this game.
Maeve, may I take your in the sights invoke?
Sure.
Or do you want to save that? It's up to you.
You can use it. Yeah.
Well,
okay.
But you have a stunt that's connected to, right? So, I mean.
Oh, that's right. So yeah, I shouldn't use that. So I will go ahead and spend a fate point. And I think I'm going to invoke. Cochet is terrified, right?
No, that was the other version of Cochet. That one's gone.
Oh, okay. Then I think I will invoke. I think I'm going to invoke driven by hatred. I think she maybe there's a bit of maybe she stepped forward more than she ought to in this, and I'll spend to invoke on that for the reroll.
Yeah. I mean, you don't even need to reroll because if you succeed, oh, there you go. So that brings you to a 5-point lead. So you'll overcome and you'll get a boost out of it. So what's your boost called?
Interface.
Cool.
I have to ask a meta question here, sure, if I may.
Yeah.
Is this our final fight? I mean, is that what we're angling towards? I kind of need to have a sense of that, or is this like a prelude to a stepping forward?
So I obviously can't say with certainty because who knows what's going to happen. I do expect this to be the final fight, but I also anticipate that we're not going to finish it this session. So your fate points are going to refresh.
So we're kind of taking this first round to get us in position.
Yeah, I think something like that.
Okay.
Something's going to change.
So who does that change
Oh,
anything?
yeah. No, it doesn't. It's my picturing about how I want to position what I'm doing for what comes next.
Yeah. So I think we'll get 1 or 2 rounds of this combat in today.
Then let's pass it to Koche.
All right. The first of the crochets.
Yeah. Koche A.
Okay. Crochet A is going to create an advantage. You got past him physically, so now he's gonna again try and like swirl up this cloud of magic to block you. He will create an advantage at 5. You can roll to defend using will.
Okay. So that's a
Nice.
4.
So he succeeds.
That'd be 1 shift.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not an attack. It's a create an advantage. So he's creating an aspect with a free invoke.
Yeah, I think I'm going to spend that in her face boost that I've got that I'm a little closer to her than he thought.
Well, I'll spend a fate point because mine are going to refresh at the end of the session too. I will. Oh, and he actually always has a plan aspect that refreshes at the start of the scene. So he'll spend one of his free invokes on that. He actually anticipated that you would be that little bit closer, that you'd be able to draw her out with her own hatred.
Then I will, this is my duty. I will spend a fate point to invoke my dutiful in service.
All right. I mean, he knew you'd do that, so he's going to use his second free invoke on always has a plan. I just spent 2 free invokes to get 1 free invoke. Never mind. Koche really has a grudge against the 4 of you.
I know. I'm trying to run him down. Is he doing that?
Yeah. Well, I already said he did, so I'm not going to take it back.
And I think that I'm going to invoke my fallen shield maiden, which is an aspect that's going to change here soon. But I will spend a fate point on that. Does he wish to spend fate points?
He'll spend a fate point. He'll invoke your allergic to magic aspect. Oh, sorry, you're dying now. He'll invoke your dying aspect, which makes you more vulnerable to his magics.
Then I will invoke his hopelessly vain, because he wants to show off and he's being a little too showy.
He's going to spend another fate point to invoke the Queen's servants are ruthless and powerful, because he is.
Oh, you may have it, Koche.
All right. He'll take the aspect then.
That's like a go back and forth in anime, dodge before.
All right. So what will he call the aspect?
Wipe the sweat off my brow.
Better be something cool.
I have you now.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
That is cool. All right. And he'll pass the initiative to his alternate self, who will attack you, Maeve, using the advantage that he just created.
How vain.
And that will be an attack using law. That's a 5. So roll to defend using will.
All right.
Sorry, Maeve. I just confused myself. I meant Fadim. I apologize.
Makes more sense.
Sorry about that. Fadim, he attacks you.
You're muted low if you're talking. Cool.
There we go. I will roll to defend. That is a 4. So he has what's he at on
because of his stunt? That's going to be 3 shifts of harm.
3 shifts of harm. I'll take 3 shifts of harm.
It was a will roll though, right? You got a 4.
Oh, it's a will roll?
Yes. Defending
In
using
that
will.
case, it's actually less. It's going to be a 2.
Well, he'll spend his free invoke on I have you now, Faerie.
So how many shifts is that then?
So if it was 2 before, it's 4 now.
Okay, so I'm going to spend my last fate point on Fallen Shieldling. To
Well,
get that, and
he-
he'll spend.
He's going to spend one of his last fate points on one of my last fate points to invoke always has a plan, because this is what he intended all along.
Okay,
So that's going to keep it at 4 shifts.
I'll take the 4 mental stress.
All right. And he passes the initiative to, let's see. I think he wants to see what Bear will do.
So gathered around the throne, there are Crochet 1 and 2 and the little Crochettlings, and Fidim is like fighting them all off up there.
Fadim
right?
kind of rushed past them, and then the 2 crochets turned to try and attack Fadim.
She's past them. Okay, well, I'm gonna go bowling for crochets. I'm gonna just be a wrecking ball and just try to make as much space for Fadim to do what she needs to do as I can. I think ever since Dr. C got me up in the mire, like I came back to myself a little bit, but I've still very much been like king of the beasts since then. Like there's been a lot of heavy breathing and grunting, and I'm still trying to like, my body's still inhibited a little bit, but I think I kind of like lower my head at this point and charge up to the throne room, or to the throne. So I'm gonna roll athletics.
So you're trying to get past them to get to the queen. Is that what's happening?
I'm trying to create an advantage, which is like scattered crochets. I'm trying to make it. I'm trying to get in their way.
Love that.
So I'm gonna roll with athletics.
I'm going to roll their defense. Oh, that's a 5. So there is no advantage.
Okay, so I'm gonna do some spending.
So 1 aspect will bring you up to a tie, which will be a boost.
I'm gonna spend 2. I'm gonna go King of the Beasts, and I'm gonna let out a guttural roar as I charge up, and it's loud enough that one of the crochets turns to look at me, and then I'm gonna invoke Fadim Pokes the Bear, as we're kind of fighting side by side, and I'm trying to set her up to do what she needs to do.
Nice.
So I go to 7.
All right. So that means that you create an aspect with a free invoke on it. We're calling that scattered crochet things.
Yeah.
All right.
Just crochets, just so it can be open to.
Sure. That makes sense. Sweet. And who do you pass the initiative to? Dr. C, the crochet things, or the queen?
Let's say Dr. C.
All right, Dr. C.
I have a quick meta question before I do my move. The terrified crochet aspect, for some reason, when I was taking out that crochet upstairs on the 13th floor, it didn't show up, and so I used one of my own fate points for that, whereas I would have used that.
Yeah, please just take back the fate point. That's fine.
Okay, all right. Dr. C, everything is, all the violence is happening around him, and all he can focus on is the queen's outfit, which is not looking good. And he says, "Why are you wearing that? You look poor." And he'll use his fate point. He'll use his stunt to attack with empathy.
Okay, make that attack roll.
I love this. We're in the realm of shade.
All right, where am I? Oh, sorry. All right, let's go ahead and do that. Oh, it's only a 3.
So the queen will roll to defend. The queen
Okay.
has a skill called Terrible Beauty, and I think it makes sense that she defends using her Terrible Beauty against this attack.
Okay.
So that's a 6. So she
Ooh.
succeeds and gets a boost. You want to?
Yeah, I'll start spending. I think I'll begin by spending a reroll using the Queen's Nemesis.
Nice.
So that will take me down to 2 again. And so I'm going to reroll Delby the Queen. Okay, that's better, an 8.
All right, so you succeed by 2.
And what does the Queen do in response to that?
Yeah, that's a good question. The queen will certainly spend the last fate point for today to invoke her driven by hatred aspect, because there's no way that she's going to allow you, of all people, to insult her appearance.
And so that makes it, what's the difference then? That brings it to a tie, right?
That's a tie. So you're still getting a
All right.
boost there.
I
Sorry,
will.
it was an attack, not a. Sorry. So 2. Yeah.
I'll
It is a
invoke
boost.
Iron Fist in a Velvet Glove using one of my fate points. And I will, let's see, 1 second. And also invoke Driven by Hatred and say that she is, something about her hatred is just making her look awful. And so that's my last fate point.
So how many shifts of harm does that bring you to?
That would bring me to a 12. So it's 4 shifts of harm.
Right, nice. So she is visibly hurt by what you said. Let me just.
We just look very basic. No VIP.
And do you pass the initiative to her after saying that to her?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh my god. Well, I think that she won't, like, that will definitely take away any thoughts of tactic or strategy that she might have wielded against you otherwise. And she's just going to make the most devastating attack that she can. You feel like the shame and guilt of childhood suddenly well up inside you as her eyes sort of glower at you. And she will roll an attack. I know you have a stunt that lets you does something when you get attacked with mental stuff. You're welcome to use that, because otherwise she's rolled an 8.
All right, I will definitely use my stunt, which just means it gives me some. It gives me 5. All right. It's a 6.
All right, so that's 2 shifts of harm.
2 shifts of mental harm, right? I'll take that.
And look, the crochet things have a turn. Let's just say that they'll try and create an advantage for next time. Who are they trying to create an advantage with? I mean, Bear, you were the one who kind of scuttled through them. So I reckon, do you want to defend this using fight or athletics?
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna go with athletics.
All right, so you succeed. So that is where we will leave the session for today. We're at the end of round 1. The crochet things will decide who starts the next round. And we'll go from there. Sorry, one mechanical thing that I should have said earlier that maybe you want to fix up now is that you should have cleared any stress boxes between the 2 scenes, between the first fight and the second one. So if you remember where you're at, please clear some stress boxes to reflect that. And otherwise, I'm going to stop the recording and we can do some stars and wishes.